She was married to Judah's first son. The Bible says was a wicked man, so God slew him. The Bible doesn't tell us exactly what did, but it must have been terrible. God slew him. And now there's this levirate marriage in Israel, at the time, probably still going on today. I know some cultures in Africa have it, whereby if a son dies without a child especially, his brother will marry the widow, and then the first child that they have together will belong to the dead brother, so that the brother's name can be alive still in Israel. It won't just die off. So Judah gave his second son Onan to Tamar, so that Onan can have a baby with Tamar, but the baby will not belong to him. The baby will be Er's son, so that Er's name can carry on. Now Onan knows that the child he will have with Tamar, or Tamar, depends on how you want to pronounce it, will not be his. The child will be for his brother, his dead brother, and he didn't want to do that. He's trying to protect his own inheritance. So whenever he sleeps with his wife Tamar, he will pull out, instead of impregnating the woman, he will let the sperm drop on the bed or wherever, the mat or wherever they lie, so that she will not become pregnant. And this displeased God, because this was a law that was given even in Deuteronomy, that this levirate marriage law. So they all knew it, although at this time, because I was looking at it, this is Genesis. That law was in Deuteronomy, so this happened before the law. But somehow they know about this levirate marriage even before the law was now given. They somehow know about it, so they must have been practicing it way before then. So God was displeased with Onan for what he did, and God slew Onan as well. So there is Tamar, two husbands, two brothers, both dead, seemingly because of her. Now Judah is supposed to give his youngest son, his last son now, Shelah, to Tamar, but he's afraid. What's wrong with Tamar? Is she jinxed? Two of my sons have died whilst being married to her, and he's scared to give his youngest son Shelah to Tamar to marry. And I mean, you can't really blame the man. I suppose as a parent I would feel the same way too, that she a black widow, them spiders, what's happening? I've got 3 kids, 3 sons, 2 died, married to her, and my youngest. So he's fearful, rightfully so, and he tells Tamar that, okay, Shelah is still young, so she should go to her father's house and go and carry on with her grieving and her mourning, the days of her widow, grieving for her husbands, or the husband, Onan. And then when Shelah is old enough, he will give him to her. So she goes off to her father's house and she stays there. And remember, back in this culture, it's a shameful thing, a disgrace. She's there in her father's house. She's a widow. She's not like married to her husband's brother, nothing. It's shameful, it's a disgrace. She won't have any say in her dad's house, and she doesn't have a husband. So she sees Shelah about, and she sees that he's now old enough to marry, but her father-in-law Judah is not giving the boy to her. So she now wonders, is he ever going to give me this man to be my husband so I can have a kid? And you remember also in that culture, a woman without a baby is a real shame. It's a disgrace not to have a child. You'll be taunted, you'll be mocked, and in your old age, who's going to look after you? Nobody. So she needs a child, and Judah is not fulfilling the obligation that he should to his daughter-in-law. So she hears that her father-in-law Judah is going to Timnah, I think, where they are sharing his sheep. His wife had died and he'd finished grieving, So he's now going to Timnah with his friend, where they are sharing his sheep. She finds out, somebody tells her, your father-in-law is going there. So she now quickly, she takes off her widow's garment. She puts a veil on her face so that she won't be recognized. She dresses like a harlot, and then she sits by the roadside on the way where she knows that the man is going to pass. And true to where the man passes, he's now a widow. His wife had died, and he mourned and grieved for her. And he sees this prostitute, and he falsely assumes that she's one of the temple prostitutes, because at the shrine there's always prostitutes where they go for their prayers. So he thinks she's one of them. So he approaches her, and he says, I want to sleep with you, negotiating, how much do you want? And she says, what do you want to give me? And he says, I'll give you a goat. And she says, okay, what pledge are you going to put down so that I know you bring the goat, because he doesn't have the goat on him. And he says, okay, what do you want? And she says, I want your staff, and I want your cord, and I want your seal. So you give me these things, and then when you bring the goat, I'll give it back to you. So he agrees, and he sleeps with her, and he leaves all these things, which are kind of like a symbol of power or something. A man always has it on him. He leaves it there. So then when he finishes the sharing and everything, and he goes back, he sends his friend, the Adulamite, the one they went together, with the goat. Take it to the woman and collect my stuff. So the guy goes, and he looks and looks and looks for this prostitute, but can't find her. He asks about, where's the prostitute that was sitting here at the roadside? And they said there is no temple prostitute around here. No temple shrine prostitute sits here. So we don't know who this woman can be. So he went back and told Judah the story that I can't find the woman. They said there's no prostitute there. And Judah says, okay, let's not be put to shame. We tried, we took the goat, we can't find her. Let her keep the things. So about 3 months later, word is sent to Judah that your daughter-in-law has committed prostitution. She's pregnant with somebody's child. So Judah, now furious, he says, what? Bring her out and burn her with fire until she dies. Now in Leviticus 21, I think, Leviticus 21, it says there that if the daughter of a priest does prostitution, she has disgraced her dad, she should be burnt with fire. So this made me think maybe Tamar is the daughter of a priest, because if she's not, it would rather be she'll be stoned to death, something like that, not burnt with fire. That's reserved for daughters of priests in Leviticus 21 verse 9. So maybe she's the daughter of a priest. I don't know. So he says, bring her forward and burn her to death. He jumps quickly to conclusion. He doesn't call the young widow to ask her questions. What's happened? How does this happen? He just goes for it. Like when David was accused, that story was told by Nathan the prophet about the rich man and the poor man, and David immediately just says that man must be put to death and he must pay back fourfold, before Nathan said it was you. And then David said, oh, I have sinned against God. So he jumped to conclusion without realizing. See, it's so easy for you to judge other people, not knowing that the fingers are pointing back at you. So Judah was quick and said, yeah, she has to be burnt with fire, bring her out. And then Tamar sends word to her father-in-law Judah and says, the man who owns these possessions is the one who got me pregnant. And then Judah recognized the items as his, and he went, oh no, she's more righteous than me. Because you see, Tamar knew the Levirate marriage law, and she was trying her hardest to get a baby for her late husband so that his name is not wiped off in Israel. And Judah did not want to fulfill that obligation. And even you remember in Ruth, the book of Ruth, Boaz, he fulfilled that obligation when the other man at the gate didn't want to. Boaz stepped forth so that Ruth can have a baby for her late husband, and Elimelech's name will not just die off in Israel. Boaz fulfilled it. And the Bible says that if any the brother of the dead man doesn't want to do it, the widow should remove his sandals and spit in his face and disgrace him openly and say, see, he doesn't want to fulfill his role. It's there. So he says that she is more righteous than him. And then Tamar has twins, Perez and Zerah, for Judah. So you see, even though Judah thought Tamar was maybe a witch because she's killed his 2 sons, she has 2 sons for Judah. And then these babies, Perez, the youngest, he's in the genealogy of Jesus. So Judah and Tamar are mentioned along with Perez, that's the youngest of the twins, in Matthew's genealogy. So you see, they came there from the tribe of Judah. So this is a story, a lesson for us. Tamar, she did what most women back in that day would not do. But she didn't want her name and her husband's name to just completely die off like that. She was a woman with a mission. So she said, no, this man is not going to give me his youngest son Shelah. Then I have to do it myself. And then she dressed up. For a woman to go, even now, to go to that extent, to dress up as a prostitute and go and lie with your father-in-law. She knew who the man was. The man didn't know who she was. And she had the babies. And God, in his infinite mercy, blessed it. See, that one time she got pregnant with twins. And God, in his infinite mercy, chose one of her twins, Perez, to be in the genealogy of Jesus. So it's just similar to Fortini, the last woman that we saw. You know, God in his grace, you see how she became a woman who had had 5 husbands. But God blessed her. She became an evangelist. A whole city gave their lives to Jesus just from her testimony. So God can use anybody. See the unlikely Tamar. She's mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. So do not write yourself off. You know, don't write yourself off. Always pray. Ask God for his leading, his direction. Because somebody has said no once, doesn't mean that you should just take that no. Pray. Pray about it. God, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So this is the story of Tamar, one of our other women of the Bible. So I thank you for joining me. Join me next time for another story of another powerful woman in the Bible. God bless you. Bye.